Hello, everybody out there in global equine and equestrian coaching. Thank you so much for being here today. I so appreciate your patience while we dealt with the fun aspects of technology that sometimes happens as we navigate new spaces. Today we have Beth Lauren Parrish coming to us from outside of Atlanta, and she does so many cool things. She is a level 3 certified CHA riding instructor, and she is a level 1 certified Tai Chi Equestrian instructor. Who knew that was a thing? Which is super cool. She does so much. She's created the Focus app. She creates meditations. She's like, I feel like there's probably a book in there somewhere. Ah, yes, the Inspired Writing Journal. So she has her business, Inspired Writing, and she coaches people not only around the United States, but actually worldwide remotely, which is something that is super cool. And she has come here to talk to you about intuition and listening to your own, listening to your horses, giving them more choice, building your confidence with riding. There's so much that we get to unpack here today. So Beth, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
You're very welcome. So Beth, tell us more about like your journey. What obstacles that you had to like overcome to do the work that you're doing today?
Well, I started out taking riding lessons as a child, and I was horse crazy, and I was, taught by the book by very great professionals how to ride properly and centered riding and dressage and jumping. And they were always a little bit of the mind of, you've got to tell the horse he's boss and things like that. And I was just very like an intense kid. So I just went for it. And I was never unkind to the horse, but I could tell I was like very strong-willed, and I would just say, okay, we're going for it. And the horse would just go, okay, I guess we're going, because I had that little kid determination. It wasn't until I got older and I started working for trainers. I was actually working for a woman in California where I was helping her retrain racehorses off the track. And I was getting into a lot of scary riding situations where these horses were just really unruly and taking off with me, bucking all the time. It was the first time I ever had developed some fear.
Yeah.
And I actually one morning had a voice as I was getting ready say to me, "You're going to fall off today." And I know I'm in my early 20s. I'm working for this trainer. I've just got to do my thing. I just shrugged it off. I'm like, that was weird. Sure enough, I'm riding this 17-1 Thoroughbred. And we're going along beautifully, and he spooks at some construction across the way, bucks in half, and I'm only 5 feet, so I'm flying through the air, ended up with a compound fracture, had to have surgery that day. And all I can think of is when I came out of surgery with this beautiful metal plate in my arm, I knew I was going to fall and I did nothing about it. So that was my huge aha moment. And I was like, okay, there's something to this intuition. So as I was recovering, and took a good 3 months before I was clear to even start riding my safe, steady little school horse that I had, I was realizing that fear was bubbling up and I needed to deal with it. So I started to go as slow as I needed to go. And when I started teaching, I started to have more empathy for my clients who were fearful. Like when I was younger, I would just push them. And now I'm like, hey, if there's a voice inside of you or just a little tingle of a feeling, you need to tell me and we'll take a step back. And that was huge. So it taught me how to teach better. So it took me a long time to build my confidence and then to really trust my intuition and listen to it and make a habit of actually tuning in with my inner guidance every day. And now it's such a habit, it's just an of course thing. And if I don't do it, it feels really weird. So that's the long and short of it. That's one big aha moment. But yeah, that was where we got started with all that.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
And no, it's been kind of like an evolution of injuries, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes. Well, it goes with the territory, unfortunately, because I've been riding since 1986 when I was 8 years old. So I'm dating myself, but
That's okay.
And pretty much I started horses. I've ridden all different types, all different sizes, and knock on wood, I've been really blessed. I haven't had any really terrible accidents where I couldn't recover from. Yeah. I've had a lot of tumbles here and there, but my last one where I wasn't listening to my intuition nor my horse was what actually brought us to Atlanta. I was working with my beautiful thoroughbred Indy, and he was extremely sensitive. And the fact that we got to where we were in our training was huge, because he used to rear straight up when I met him. Ooh. And he was given to me by a gentleman in California who was, he was about to pass from cancer, and he was looking for a home for him. So he was a gift to me because he knew no one else would be able to handle him. And it took good, I'd say 8 years for him to finally settle. And then when I started riding him consistently, it was still a little bit of a question mark, because he would make the funniest noises, like when he was a little out of sorts. And I finally got to where I was riding consistently, and I built up my confidence with the methods that I teach. And we were doing beautifully. We were actually going to clinics, and I was actually going to start showing him. I was going to go do a clinic with Anne Gribbins, and that was a huge thing for me, because she taught my trainer in New York, who taught me. So she was like one of my mentors. And sure enough, I had gotten a new dressage saddle. I was so excited about it, and I'd ridden it once before. And the second time I went to ride Indy in it, I should have lunged him, and I didn't. And he was not feeling it, and he bucked, and I went down, and my knee had to have surgery. So that was really an interesting moment, because I was actually at a crossroads towards the end of the ride, and I looked at my husband, thank God he was there that day, and I said, I'm wondering if I should keep going or not. I feel like we did okay, but I think I want to do just a little more trotting. And Indy was so clear, and I didn't listen. He turned his head. He did what I call the thoroughbred head twist. And he turned his head and went like that with his mouth, like, I don't think so, Mom. I think we're done. But no, I was supposed to be on this journey, apparently. So it was a very painful one. But as soon as I hit the ground, I screamed, I think I broke my leg. Make the pain stop. Please catch my horse. It's just like, yeah, it was rough. It took a month before I could do surgery, because they needed the swelling to go down. So I had to do physical therapy. So that was rough in itself. And then by the time I started getting better in physical therapy, we decided to move to Atlanta, because we were in Texas at the time. And my husband works in the film industry. So we decided to go where the work was. And thank God there's been a lot more work in Atlanta. So we're really glad we made this move, so I could recover and take my time with that. Sorry, my dogs are growling. And yeah, and then after that, I just kept thinking, I've got to do something. So I started creating online courses, and I was really excited about them. But I was still a lot in my head and not as much in my heart as I needed to be. And there was a day where I was rushing about and just frantic about something. And sure enough, I slipped in the house on a dog bone, and the same leg that had surgery with the knee broke, and I had a 9-inch plate put in for my femur. So that took a long time to heal. Again, another message, you got to listen, you got to slow down, you got to listen to your heart and your inner guidance.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that aspect of being present.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
It can be difficult to be present sometimes with everything going on, and you're just like rush, and like, I need to do this thing and I need to do that thing. And it's and when we work with horses, it's definitely an important part of keeping ourselves safe as well as our horses.
Totally.
And especially since like the energy in our own bodies and the tightness in our own bodies, it like impacts our horses. Right? Yes. Because then they have the tightness in their bodies as a compensating factor in how they have to balance both of us.
Exactly. And that's what brought me to learn the equestrian Tai Chi, because I naturally have a tension in my body that I have to continually release. I do what I call the horse sigh as much as possible. And I tell my students to do the same, especially I had a little girl who was like so intense before she went for her lesson. I was like, do 3 horse sighs before you even climb up the steps, because her little pony was like spinning around her. And then as soon as she did that, she just settled, and the pony was like, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, we have, and our friend Judy hopped on. She said, slow down and breathe, same as horses when they are transitioning from one moment to another. Judy, thank you so much for adding that.
Totally.
Feel free to join us if you have a moment too. Hop on here and just in the Zoom. Yeah, breathing is so important. There's actually, for those of you that don't know this out there, there is a woman, Claire Frost in England, who developed a technique specifically for horses to help them breathe correctly, which can actually help with like when they're cribbing, if they have Swedish, all sorts of really fascinating different things that can be helped by horses breathing properly.
I feel like I looked at her website once. Please send me the info again. That's awesome.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, we interviewed her for my YouTube channel, Horsepower Empowerment Through Connection. So that's Claire Frost in England, and she has that information for free on her website because she really just wants horses to be supported and have the best.
That's beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, so tell us more about the whole Tai Chi experience, like for people that are just like either have never heard of Tai Chi or have never heard about Tai Chi in regards to connection with horses.
Well, it's just a beautiful way to balance your energy. And when you start to learn the different movements, you automatically become more present. And then you and your horse can relax. And then your energy fields can match up. And I mean, that's the summary of it right there. So, and then you can play with different exercises while you're on the horse, which is quite nice. And you can feel the difference in your horse's movement. I know when I start to do it, like the 2 ponies I ride, they just immediately just stop and breathe and like almost look like they're falling asleep. And then when I go to pick up the reins to start again, it's like they just like all of a sudden it's like a rocket. They're like, yep, we got the energy, let's go. You know, it's like we charged up the battery in our dantian and in our lower belly when we finish doing the energy work. And it doesn't take very long. That's the cool part. You can do just like 30 seconds to like 5 minutes at the most. And it really makes a difference. And the more you do it little by little each day, it really has a gorgeous impact. And then you become an amazing partner for your horse. And then they can feel like that you're really with them. So
that's so fantastic. I really appreciate you bringing that forward. We have a couple of resources for people who are interested in energy work with horses. We also have George Brownes, who's in Colorado, and he does Qigong with Mustangs specifically.
Oh, wow.
They're like 3-strike Mustangs. He has at his farm. I think he's got over 20 Mustangs on his property on the western slope of Colorado. And then Sabine Hoffman is in Germany. She is one of the few people which has integrated spatial dynamics with horses, and it has to do with the spiraling energy that we have in all of our bodies as humans, horses, etc. And so we have the Spatial Dynamics Institute in Mechanicsville, New York, that you can research and learn really amazing things about how to connect with your body in its movement through space and time.
That's awesome. So many cool humans out there. Oh my gosh.
So many cool humans. Yeah, I did the first year of the 5-year program in the spatial dynamics training before I blew out my back. And it was a really helpful thing to get to learn in that journey. But I'd heard about the Qigong. I hadn't heard about Tai Chi with the horses. So that's so cool. Can people come and work with you? Do you do the remote work to teach people how to do Tai Chi with their horses?
Yep, that's what I got certified for. And Jana's had lessons with me in it, so that's been really fun.
Oh, cool. Jana, would you be willing to like hop on here really quick and tell us a little bit what your experience was like?
Yeah. We just had a lesson last Thursday, I think. And so it's the first time I've been riding with Beth for a couple of years, but it was the first time we worked with Tai Chi. And we did a little on the ground to start to kind of just get things in sync. And then I got on my horse. So we did a little bit more. And the first time I walked off, we just went to walk off and walk a little circle and see how things felt. I was just blown away because all that tension I carry all the time, that usually takes a long time for me to like relax and settle in on my horse, just gone. And then we would pause, do a little bit more, and then the next time I'd walk off, there'd just be that much more ease and less tension. I was practicing the other day, and Liberty Works always fascinated me, but I've not really ever been that interested in it. And I set up my video and I practiced with my 2 horses, and they just started to sort of, come together and side up to one another, and they just wanted to be in the space with me, and it was so awesome.
Oh, that gives me tingles. I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing, Jana. That's awesome.
I can't wait to do more.
That's fantastic.
It's beautiful to see those shifts, and they happen so quickly. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so much that when we let go of ego and expectation of how something should be framed in our minds for whatever reason that we create it, from social perceptions to our own journey, that when that just drops and we come into full presence with our horses and like acceptance, that there's just so much possibility and so much beauty and grace and connection that occurs.
Absolutely.
That's so cool.
May I add one other thing?
Absolutely, Janet. Thank you.
One of the Tai Chi movements we were doing, Beth was telling me about how it actually synchronizes the footfalls and your seat and connects your leg with their legs. And I thought it was just the coolest thing. Coolest.
That was one of the last ones I learned, actually. And I was like, wait, where was this all this time? It's like patience, young Jedi. Yeah.
That's so cool. How long did it take you to get certified in Tai Chi? Like, what's the process for that for some people who might be interested?
Oh my gosh, I'm so terrible with timing. So I would say it was a few months at least. It was all online, and Jenny, who is the instructor, is wonderful, and she does Zooms with you and goes over the form with you so she can correct you if you need it, and then you send in videos. So it's really interactive and beautifully done. And then I can film my lessons and send her the lessons. And yeah, it was wonderful the way it was set up. I honestly just don't know the timing of it because timing is weird for me. So
I totally get it.
It's like I joke, I'm like so much in the moment, like the horse. I'm like, okay, oh yeah, I have to do that. Okay. That's why my phone tells me what to do next. So.
Yay for technology in some ways. So is some of this work that you're doing integrated into the Focus app that you've recently created?
I have a couple of videos, like just for the results from the quiz to say, if you like to learn how to do this, I can do remote lessons kind of thing. So there's like a little demo of me doing it, but I won't actually teach it on the app. You'll just see it happen, you know.
Gotcha.
But the app is principally for you to just get something to focus on in the moment and to do a self-assessment quiz on how you and your horse are feeling. And then once you go through those 4 questions, then you'll get a recommended video, whether it's groundwork or, you know, walk trot work, walk trot canter, or something with small jumps or pulls, or even a meditation if they want. So
that's cool. Well, tell us more about the meditations and how you like formed those particular things as an act to help.
Those are like my heart project. So the meditations started out with just the desire to help my clients connect more with their horses. And I think it was just, one of them was to just help direct them into the animal communication section. And then I started researching more meditation music, and I listen to meditations all the time. And I was like, you know what, I think I can do a whole package just for equestrians.
Nice.
And I have ones to help build confidence. I have ones just to like tune in right before you ride. I have ones to have a gratitude feeling after the ride, whether the ride was good or not, you know, things like that. Nice. I think is really important. So I also have these techniques that I've learned through other avenues where I just folding them all in. So you can tune in with your future self and get advice. And then you can tune into the matrix, like, or I call it the strings, and you can connect to any type of string that you want to help shift the energy of it, things like that, all for the greater good, of course. So, so it's just, I call that one the sprinkle of fairy dust. So, you know, some people might think it's real out there, and some people have the most amazing results from just that one meditation. So I had about a dozen, maybe 14, and then I added another 12 for the app. So wow, there's 26 total for the app, and that's going to be, you just scroll through and choose whichever one you like. So you don't have to take the quiz to actually do a meditation. And then the other aspect, the third part, is the digital version of the daily entries for my companion journal. Nice. That one's wonderful because you tune into your inner guidance, and then you also ask your horse what they'd like to do. You write down your goals, you write down how you're feeling, and then you come back and you write how it went, and then you can ask your horse for advice for the next time. Nice. So, yeah.
Jana, have you had a chance to work with the app at all?
It's not out till October.
Oh, it's not out until
Yeah.
October. I thought it
Yeah.
was out already. Silly me.
It's-
Well, it's right around the.
It's right around the corner.
Right
I have
around-
a landing page for it for people to sign up for updates. So.
Oh, fantastic. We'll have to have you add that later after the call so that people know where they
Cool.
can go to look for the launch.
I'm so excited. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We love to have that out there. And then you have a website that people can find you at?
Oh, yes. It's inspiredriding.com.
Super
Pretty
easy
simple.
to remember.
Yeah.
Inspiredriding.com. And speaking of inspired riding, you have a fantastic little wall hanging behind you. And I would love for you to get to do a little plug for the person who made that for you.
So this is from Alice at Rustic Horseshoe Designs, and she's actually in Australia, and she's a phenomenal artist. And I met her through my equestrian business coach, Melody Semler, and she has a ton of amazing humans around her who do really cool horse things. And so I saw she had a welcome sign and then her horse's name on the stalls out of these horseshoes. I'm like, those are cool. I wonder if I could ever get my logo like that. And I messaged her and we worked it out, and she shipped it all the way from Australia. And that was like a huge deal. I was so excited.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Thank you. Me too. I was like floored with how well it came out. So.
Yeah, like the first time I saw that, I was like, wait, what? That's horseshoes? How is that a thing? Yeah, so tell us more about the connection with the horses, and you talk about being able to muscle test, like you've got some exercises for us.
Oh yeah. Okay. So basically the best way to check in with your intuition is to ask your body how you're feeling about something. So you can principally say a statement that you absolutely know is true out loud, like my name is Beth, and then just notice how you feel. And then I'll say, my name is Charlie. And then I immediately get a weird tingling tightness in my throat. So I've dialed this in pretty well. It might take you a little while. So what you want to do is you just continually say things that are true, no matter what. Like I have a nose, things like that. And then you just start to feel in your body how it feels. So that's the first aspect. The second aspect is then you can add it to a feeling of leaning forward or leaning back. Like that's one that people really like. So usually leaning forward means yes, leaning forward means leaning back means no. You can also do the one where you have your fingers together, like my name is Beth and it's strong, my name is Charlie, and it just snaps open, things like that. So that's how you can dial in your yes, this is true, no, this is false feeling. Once you have that, then the sky's the limit. You can say, I want to take this vitamin. And then, you can either hold it to your heart if you want, or just like look at it and have your intention on it and notice, how your body feels if it says yes or no. And then you can do the same when you're working with your horse. So of course you first want to check in, make sure your horse is cool with something. Like if you feel like the horse is ready to trot, then you ask your body, I feel ready to trot. And then if you get a tightness or whatever the no feeling is, like, okay, maybe I need to walk a little longer, things like that. And that really helps you dial in when the right timing is for you and your horse. So that's the long and short of it. Yes.
No, that's fantastic. I really love the principle of muscle testing. I've been working with a chiropractor for years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I first started doing muscle testing for supplements when I was 19 years old, and it has helped me more than any other like medical sort of situation. I mean, aside from getting my back surgeries, that was kind of helpful to get to walk again. But like aside from those things that are like mechanically important, no, it's really cool because like the difference between if I went to a naturopath and they did blood work even, and they were just like, here are the general things, supplements that help to raise different levels. And then I'd go to my chiropractor and I'd be like, hey, I have these supplements and these seem like they're good, and these over here just don't feel like I don't feel great when I take them, or they don't resonate with me. And then she would muscle test me, and sure enough, like the ones that I had already had the intuition that were helping me helped me, and the other ones they're just like, that doesn't help you, like let's look at a different type of like lecithin or whatever, because there are different brands, there is different things that you pull the supplement from, right, the quality of what it is that you're purchasing. And then like it's so fascinating to me how much the body can be helped.
Totally. It's so good you got those confirmations.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just so much to it. So yeah. And so for people who are That's really good stuff for people who are kind of struggling with that. Is this really the way my horse feels? Sort of situation. So how do you help navigate with the skeptics that come in?
It's really up to them if they want to open their hearts or not. I'm not here to convince anyone. So
Sure. But like sometimes somebody might come in and they're like kind of open, but they're like, and creating.
I just tell them to experiment as much as possible. And there's going to be a moment where they're going to go, I got a clear message. And I get messages like that. I'll get little messages. Hey, I finally heard something. Like, yes. And that's why I just tell them, like, let it be playful. Don't let it be so serious. See if you can just like, experiment with chatting with them and, writing down. I have a much better time just free writing. And I feel like it's almost automatic writing. And that's how I tune in with the horses. And it just pours out. And I'm like, wow, I never would have thought of that. That's cool. So
that's awesome. So how do you help people building their confidence when they're really shook and they've had a really bad fall and they come to you and they're just like,
So the first thing is I tell them to just realize it's going to take time and that it's totally okay to go as slow as you need to go.
I love that.
And what that looks like for them is going to be completely different for someone else. So don't compare yourself to others. That's a huge thing. And don't let others pressure you. That's the other thing.
Boundaries.
Yes.
Give me my autonomy to do things at my own space.
So, for example, I have students where they're building up their confidence with a specific horse. And, we'd have 3 or 4 lessons where all they would do is just stand at the mounting block and we would just breathe and imagine riding, but not necessarily get on that day. And that was okay. And I would just hold space for them. And it's one of those things where you have to know your body has to say, yes, I'm ready. And if it's not, you can't push it, because if you do, you could get into an accident. So this is a really good thing to make sure you go as slow as you can. And then my other thought is once you do feel ready and your body says yes, wait a little bit longer. So that way, without a doubt that your body's definitely ready. So you can wait like maybe 1 or 2 more sessions or wait another 15, 20 minutes, depending on like the situation. But so you don't have to like dive into it. So that's the other thing, because people just kind of like grin and bear it, jump on and try to cowgirl up. And I'm like, oh God, don't do it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because your horse feels that, like, even if it's more subconscious and or if it is conscious, but you're trying to force it down, like your horse feels that shift in the energy and the tightness in your pelvic bowl and wherever else the tightness is in your body. And then your horse is like having to compensate for that. And they're like worried, like, why are we worried right now? And the horse doesn't know why.
Exactly. You want to have green lights in your body and your horse's body.
100%. Yeah. And I mean, like, cause you might be fine that ride, you might be fine the ride after, but at some point, like that buildup of tension and potential reactivity decreases the horse's bandwidth, just like it decreases our bandwidth when we have like things that stress us out and build over the course of the day. And then that makes it that they're potentially going to spook at something one day that they otherwise wouldn't. Just like for us, some days, like something where our bandwidth is done and something we normally wouldn't snap at, we're like, roar!
We got to be aware of our thresholds for sure. So.
Absolutely. We've all got them. And learning how, like listening to our horses and figuring out, you go out one day and maybe your horse isn't in the space to be ridden that day, even if you want to, right? And how do we give them the choice? Because like you had brought up before, like talking about how we give our horses choices. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So I've started doing this thing now. Okay. Pepper, my pony, he's a little pony of the Americas. He's 13-1. He's the cutest little thing. He's, just my little heart pony. And basically he lives with Indy, my thoroughbred, on about 4 acres in the woods. And what I've found is once I start setting up the tack and the camera equipment, because we film nearly every time, if he doesn't come over right away, that's a big indication he's not into it. Usually he comes over and he'll either try to push the tripod down or he'll come right up to the saddle like, okay, I'm ready, And he's even talked about that. Like, if you have to go get me, I'm not going to be into it. Like, it might be okay, might not. So, we have kind of a compromise. Either like I convince him or I just leave him be, or we just do groundwork, things like that. And then my second way to confirm he's definitely ready to ride is once I've finished grooming him, I take his halter off completely. And then I show him the saddle pad. And then if he's cool with it, then I put the saddle pad on, then I put the saddle on. And then he gets cookies, of course, because I do positive reinforcement as well. So there's a lot of treats involved.
Everybody loves cookies.
I have to pay the toll. We give him these low starch, low sugar, because I'm always afraid I don't want to give him too much sugar. So he gets those little treats. And then he loves taking the bit. So I have to be careful. I put the reins over his head and then I rub his face. I call that paying the toll. I just rub it a little bit and I thank him for being amazing. And then he literally like tries to like bite down onto the bit. So I have to like be really mindful and tactful about putting it on. And then he gets a cookie and then we go. So yeah.
I love that.
And then as I'm going through the ride, I talk to him too. I mean, there are moments where he's like, can we just go on the trail? I'm like, how about we just do a little bit more in the arena and then we'll go on the trail. And then he's like, fine, okay. So we have like, a nice rapport going back and forth, of course. But there are moments where I could tell I run out of quarters. And I'm like, okay, I'm hopping off. I love you. Thank you so much. I do Ho'oponopono. I do the 4 phrases. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry if anything upset you. Please forgive me if it did. And yeah, and that just helps clear the air. And he's always like, it's fine, cookies, So,
Fine cookies.
Yep,
Exactly. Thank you so much for sharing all of that and for giving your horses like the choice to do the work or not. I think it's just so important for us to honor our horses and give them that autonomy out of respect.
Totally. And that's something very new I've been doing. Like usually I just get that they're okay, but this is like a really big deal. And there have only been like 2 times where he ran off when I had the saddle pad. And one day it was just like, he was this really spooky mood. And I'm like, okay, this is probably better, and another time I couldn't figure it out. So I actually messaged Jana because she's an animal communicator as well. And she tunes in with my guys. And she's like, he thinks the footing was slippery. And sure enough, it was. So he was worried that we were going to slip.
Oh, wow.
I was like, that was pretty cool.
Nice.
So, yep.
Janet, so do you do animal communication as your job? Feel free to.
Yeah, yes, I do. That's my full-time job.
That's cool. Where are you located, Janet?
Pennsylvania.
Right on. We always work out of the abundance mindset here in the group. So we're always happy to like just touch base and promote people, give people the opportunity to say like, here I am, this is how you can find me. So if you want to, this is your moment, Janet.
Okay. Well, you can find me on Facebook. I'm still putting together my website. And because of Beth, I have the first part of my animal communication online course is ready.
Well done.
Working on the rest of it. So, but Beth really gave me that nudge to get in there and do it. So I just love working with Beth.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for being here in support, Jenna.
And I speak horse fluently. So I talk to all animals, all species, literally all species. But I speak fluent horse. So anytime Beth brings forward something she's teaching or working with, it just helps me grow and expand in a whole new way because it makes sense to me. I could go in a corporate business class and it would all just fly over my head. But when she starts talking horse, I'm like, oh, I get it.
Well, that's funny because I used to joke about how I can't remember anything from college. I have a degree in international studies, but I'll remember every single riding lesson I had since I was 8 years old. It's like, okay, well, at least that's important. So.
Yeah, and you see what's in alignment. No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing, Jenna. And in the show notes afterwards, they're like, hop into the group and put in the comments where people can find you. So if they resonate with you, that's an opportunity.
Cool, thank you.
You're very welcome. Feel free to pop in lives anytime in the group. Carrie, is there anything that like questions, comments that you would like to bring forward for Beth or for Jenna for that matter?
No, this has been really helpful. Beth and Jana, Elysia knows my story that I had a bad fall almost exactly a year ago.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not a serious rider. I'm certainly not an accomplished rider. I've grown up with horses, and last August of 2020, I acquired a new horse. He's 16 years old, but I had an accident and I'm riding him, but it's with much trepidation.
Okay.
And so yeah, this has been really helpful. I've already pulled up your website, so I'm checking it out.
Oh, great. Well, reach out anytime you have questions. I'd love to help.
Will do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Carrie, and for sharing your story and all of that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So Beth, tell us, who in the world inspires you today?
All of my students.
Oh, I love that. So
Yeah.
beautiful.
I'm just, every time I work with them, or even just the ones in my group, I'm just so in awe with how open they are and how willing they are to keep evolving and learning. And it makes my heart so happy to see.
I love that. Janet, Carrie, if either of you would like to say who inspires you in the world today, feel free to offer that up. It's always nice to hear positive things, and, you know, like, so other people can look towards others potentially for that.
Well, Beth inspires me every day, and I'm not just saying that. I'm a lifer in her program because I was in a pretty bad place as well. I was having panic attacks when I was riding. I've ridden my whole life, and that's not like me.
Yeah.
But I'd had a couple injuries, and somehow Beth and I became friends, and, you know, she just completely turned my world right back around where I needed it to go. And yeah, and I would say my horses and my dogs inspire me every day because they're always right there to help me and support me in what I'm doing.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Aren't
so
your
much
dogs
for
gorgeous back there? Yeah.
That's my boy.
Aw, so precious. I love that. All right, Carrie, do you want to share?
Or I'll chime in. So mine isn't directly related to the conversation that we've had today.
Totally
But
fine.
I have two best friends from, they're from 40 years, from the time we were in kindergarten together. And one has a special needs son and is his champion and an amazing mother. And the other one just took care of her mother through a life-ending illness. And they both are, I'm just in awe and inspired by their devotion to their family, their strength, their courage, and their just grace with which they have handled everything.
Thank you so much for chiming in and sharing that. I resonate with that a lot right now, Carrie, because my best friend, her husband is currently dying. He's in transition. And she has been caring for him while he's had brain cancer for the last year. And she has 3 daughters, and she works like 4 jobs and has been taking care of him by herself, basically, and just getting, you know, occasional support. And she works in the horse industry as a recreational therapist and does so much. And I just, the fact that she keeps going and teaching her students at a college level and providing a great home for her kids and showing up for everybody just is amazing. So yeah, my buddy Blair McKissick.
So beautiful.
I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much for vulnerably sharing about your own personal stories of who inspires you in the world. Beth, thank you so much for sharing like your wisdom and for all of you making the world a better place in the beautiful ways that you do. I so appreciate all of you. And if you'd like to contact Beth later, we'll have the different ways to contact her in the show notes. And if you would like to connect with me for connection coaching or to be on the show, you can find me at www.globalequineaffiliates.com. And next week, I have a free workshop I'm putting on in my women's group for Phoenix Rising Women's Group to talk about facing fears and claiming your voice. So if that's something that people would like to check out, by all means. And until then, we will talk to all of you later. Thank you everybody for being here and for watching now or catching the replay later. And we will talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.